I really enjoyed my two colleagues' talk and the plenary before. I love that picture, and I wanted to throw it at you because I think it puts ahead a few questions that I hope that we're going to discuss during the panel. So obviously, at least I think that machines are not meant to be doing what you're seeing here. We designed them. I always have this image that machines are going to be very efficient, and they're going to work for us. And what you have here is a robot that looks like it's having a good time on its own, just for himself. And what we really want is to have robots to actually make our life better and to enable us to have more of this. So this is what will be really my take to that. Cooperation or competition, these are two keywords that we keep hearing all the time. Do we want robots to cooperate? We, all engineers, believe in that. We want robots to help us as humans. But of course, we hear a lot about competition. And this has been mentioned already, so I'm obliged to go through this, and I'll go very rapidly through that. Yes, we hear and we read everywhere robots will take over jobs. They may lead to unemployment. It's actually not novel. It's been there already a while ago. The very first excerpt that I'm showing here is from the New York Times in 1928. And then you also have three examples of the headlines of Der Spiegel is one of the major journals in Germany. So it's a recurrent question. And so if I ask the question, will robots take people's job, then the answer is yes. But why? Well, simply because for a century we've treated humans like machines. And I think we have to realize that. That is the problem. That is the real problem. That is why it's so easy for us to replace humans. And that is the question that I hope we are going to discuss. And I very much liked Roberto's line on that, to improve humankind in general. Now, which jobs will they take over? Well, I love that comic, actually, because that's true. I mean, my robots, they really love things that are really dull and repetitive and dull and repetitive and dull and repetitive, and they're pretty good at that. And again, a lot of jobs that we're giving to humans are dull and repetitive, and we shouldn't, because humans deserve more than that. So that's why it's good to have robots replacing these jobs, but that doesn't mean that these people should be jobless. So here is an example of dull or repetitive job. Of course, there are plenty of them. I took chocolate factory because I'm from Switzerland, so it's something we love. Okay, and we love those. And yes, so it's a pretty tedious work. And that's why it's very easy to replace. Here we have a completely fully automated chocolate factory because it's repetitive. It's always the same thing. You pick up a chocolate, you put it in the same place. They all come in the same shape, sort of, and you can just pick and place with a very simple vacuum cleaner, vacuum gripper. So I'll ask the question once more: will robots take over people's job? And I say no, and you go like, hold on a second. She just said yes. No, I'm saying no because it's not that robots will take people's jobs. It's humans who will give jobs that belong to humans to robots. I think we should not be mistaken here. Right? It's the human really doing that. And so this is, again, a place where I really hope that you can help out, is making sure that employers are actually using robots to improve the workers' life, okay? Not as a way of becoming more efficient and getting rid of humans. And I'm a woman, so I can allow myself to do something that I usually don't like, which is to say, there was a time when women used to be at home and they will do all the chores, and the man will come back, and from time to time the husband will come and buy something for his wife, and it will be a washing machine, and then it will be a cooking machine, and then it will be a lot of different things. But when the husband was offering that to his wife, the goal of the husband was not to say, well, now that I have a washing machine and a cooking machine, I don't need you, so please go out. No, that wasn't the goal. The goal was to make the life better. And again, I really hope that employers, and I actually have 3 companies myself, and I hope that we actually use machine to improve the life of the people working in the company and not to discount these workers. I truly believe that humans are very intelligent, all of them, and robots, unfortunately, still not so much, even though my lab develops robots. My lab develops a lot of AI, artificial intelligence. And so we are striving towards that, and I will not go through all the details. But one of the things that is key to intelligence, according at least to dictionaries, and I believe in this, is the ability to acquire and apply knowledge. So that means the ability to learn. Basically, this is really something that distinguishes us as human beings from other animals. It's this ability to acquire many different knowledge, and I completely side with Roberto's suggestion to use this fantastic ability of humans to learn to have continuous learning. And that will probably be the solution to this problem of increasing the technology and potential unemployment. So AI is the theory and development of computer systems able to perform tasks normally requiring human intelligence, and one of them, on which I work, is to enable robots to learn. So, but what we want is the robots to learn and to adapt to new situations, so I'll show you a couple of examples. Here is one where you can teach robots to cut, simply. So you show the robot, you can guide, you can actually move the robot hands and go through the motion, and you have to show that in different circumstances so that the robot can generalize. And now, as you can see, the robot adapts very naturally, which looks natural to you, so it can adapt to changes in the plates, and it can also adapt, of course, to start cutting ham, which is a little different from what you've seen, because now they have friction, a little bit of viscosity, and things like that. So that's what we build in the robots, is the ability to adapt. Here is another example. You can teach robots by showing it how to press an orange, juice it, and you juice on the juicer, and then you trash the orange. But if you show that only once to robots, then it will simply learn these sequences. So what we can do is to teach the robot that what matters is what I've just explained, is that you have to juice and then trash and then pour, and you change a little bit the environment. You show 2-3 demonstrations where the objects have been moved so the robot can generalize. Okay. And once the robot has generalized, which is the key to adapt and apply to other situations, then the robot will be able to apply the exact same task to a completely different setup, which we will see in a minute. So we have now different algorithms that allow us to train robots and to give them a sequence of action that involves pressing on different objects, manipulating objects with one another, and having the robots being able to reproduce that and even perturb the robot in different circumstances. So this is acquired, and you can think that this is to some extent a very small level of intelligence or ability to learn. As you can see here, the robot is adapting and reproducing the task with completely different sequencing in the environment. The problem with teaching robots when a human teaches a robot is that the human has to be there all the time. So here is a very nice example from my colleague Jan Peter, where the human is only showing once a good example and then doesn't train the robot through doing it, because it's a fairly difficult task to be done. And so the robot can train on its own. But it got a little bit started, so it has an idea that the little red ball should get into the cup. But then it still has to find the exact right amount of force and trust that it has to apply so that it can sink it. And it takes a while, and so I'll go a little fast, and here this is the result after 60 trials, and eventually after 100 trials, then he got it, which is fairly fast. I mean, some people take longer than that, others are faster. Okay? So robots can be taught as humans. They can also learn a little bit from being taught and then learning on their own. But one thing that you don't know is that humans have to train themselves, actually, to train robots. It's not that trivial. And so here is an example from Nadia, as a PhD student in my lab. She's actually very good, and she's used to have robots. But as you can see, she's struggling to teach this robot to do a simple polishing task. She sent that to me, she sent this video to me saying, that's me training myself to get the video done. It's fairly difficult. It's fairly difficult because humans are not exactly like us, and we have to take their arms and so forth. Another problem is that we need a human who knows the task to train the robot. So as you can see, even though robots have some ability to learn, some intelligence, behind that there is always a lot of the intelligence of the human. Now here is a task that we were very keen to get a robot to do in the lab, which is difficult for humans, is to catch a bottle. We can catch balls fairly accurately because they have 3 axes of symmetry, but a bottle or any object which has some amount of liquid is very difficult because, first of all, it comes with a rotating angle, so you have to align your hands and you have to predict that, which is almost impossible. And then on top of that, it's not a ballistic motion anymore, so because there is water in it, and so it rotates on its own. So we did that also with rackets. So what we did is that we trained, you can decompose the task and get the robots to learn, for instance, the actual dynamics of the flying racket or the dynamics of flying bottle. And then you can teach the robots what you do, what you know how to do. That means to reach for the object, but not to actually grab it. Huh? So you can just show to the robot how to get there, but not closing on time. And then finally, robots being extremely quick, then finally robots can do that, and they can do that far more accurately than humans can do, and at a millisecond. So this is the strength of robots. Okay, they are super fast at computing, and they can compute very complex things. I think there is a problem with the video. These seem to be jerking. I hope it's going to be okay for the rest. Now there are, of course, a huge amount of challenges that remain to be solved. One problem is that when we train a robot to do one task, we train a robot to do one task. And we still are struggling to go from one task to another and to generalize across tasks. When we train one robot, we train one robot and not another one. So here you have 3 examples of 3 different robots that we have worked with, and they are all very different in their body, and the knowledge that they have do not transfer very well. One other problem is that often what we train a robot to do, here we have a robot trained to open a printer on the left, which we trained in Lausanne, and then we transfer this knowledge to a full humanoid robot, which was much more complicated because you had to balance for this robot. And we could transfer some of it, but this is very, very initial work. So robots are still extremely far from human intelligence because they have difficulty transferring knowledge from one task to the other, transferring knowledge from one context to the other. A lot of people try to get robots also to learn on their own completely. And I love this video because it's a robot trying to stand up. It goes up and tries, and it has a reward that says, stay up, stay up. And it finally managed to do that. It used to take about 180 trials to do that. And that's great. But of course, the problem is that it's very impossible to scale that to a fully humanoid robot. So getting robots to learn and to learn to do any type of behavior when they are as big as this one, and this is the iCub robot that you've seen, which has been developed at the Italian Institute of Technology. It has more than 50 motors and lots of very high-dimensional camera, lots of tactile sensors. So it's just untractable to get this robot to learn all this behavior. So the way that people proceed is to say, well, one way to get to walk is that you go by synchronizing your limb. And you know that this is one way to go, and we implemented that for getting the robots to just walk, and that's true, it works, and they walk fairly well. And for a long time, people have done that. And you probably have seen all these fantastic videos of the DARPA challenge. When you put that in a robot, then what happens is that what we have in the lab still doesn't scale very well out. And so it was fairly difficult to get this walking machine that worked so well in the lab, I swear. And now out there in the sun, it's a different story. Okay, so where are we now? And I love this video from you guys. Yeah, I know, that's yours. So we tell the robot, well, please, at least stay upright, no matter what. So that means no matter what. Huh? So the first thing that we need to teach the robot is robustness. But robustness to what? To disturbances, to any type of perturbation. And I love that this is one of our best examples, is what you guys will do. If suddenly you stumble on something, then you will recover extremely quickly. You're not actually computing anything in your brain. It's almost reflexes. So we are back to reflexes and not learning and low-level intelligence for robots. You know that now we have full days in our conference where we are trying to get robots to recover from falling simply and recovering from not breaking themselves. So that's the hardware that needs to be changed to still be sturdy enough to resist shocks, but also the ability to recover entirely. That means you're down on the floor and now you need to get up again. And as you will see, there is a nasty human who will come and push it again. It's maybe a little unethical from a robot's viewpoint. Yeah, tough. But that's how we help them, manage once they get out of the lab. So maybe it's for their own good. All right, so there are still a huge amount of differences between robot intelligence and human intelligence. I'll just make a list. So yeah, robots have a huge memory, very fast computation, although I totally agree with what Roberto has said. It's not as fast as humans so far, or not as efficient. For the size of the memory of humans, I think it's still a dispute in neuroscience, but we are fairly slow. Yet, the problem with the robot is that so far it still stores absolutely everything. We don't. I'm sure that you get out of here and you will have stored, I don't know, a tenth of what we've said, and that's normal. That's the smartness of humans. You discard what is not very important. The robot has close to perfect retrieval of what it's stored, so it's a perfect recorder. And we have a very approximate reproduction, so that's a bit of a weakness. But it still has very limited generalization, as I've explained. And humans, on the contrary, generalize very well for the exact reason that we know what to retain and we know how to apply this knowledge. I always wonder how much understanding my robot really has. And actually, I wonder sometimes of humans too. But I think we do understand at least the why we do things, and robots don't. They just don't, and they don't care. And I don't believe that they have creativity at this stage. They cannot really invent, and we do create and invent, and that's us. But that could change, and so that may very well change, and I don't mind the change. So I'll just close by saying, again, cooperation or competition. To me, robots are there to cooperate, to really help humanities. Let's not forget that all of what we are teaching to robots is really to help mankind. We work a lot with prostheses. These are not our own work. These are other people's work. There are hand prostheses that can really help robots. There is a problem with this video. Let me just replay it. This is a fantastic prosthesis, as you can see, leg prosthesis on the right-hand side from my colleagues, Dr. Burry, that allows for the first time a human being to not only walk but climb stairs. And that's superbly important. And on top, you have a prosthesis for the hand, which allows you to grab many different objects. So to close, I think that robots have a huge potential to improve the life of many humans, be it as prostheses, be it as workers who have a tedious life. And if robots ever hurt humans, I think most likely it would be because of us not using them well. And so my take is, let's use them wisely. Thank you.